Jesus H. Christ. We gotta talk about Jaws 3. Beer. Let's do this. Alright guys, let's do this. Jaws franchise ranking and discussion featuring the Narragansett Quint style beer. Pretty cool that they do this. Like the screen authentic style can. This is what the case looks like. Pretty cool. Pretty cool that they do this. Let's get into this here. I have such a good time with this franchise. I essentially grew up on the Jaws films. Like I said in past videos, I would rent these films from the library. Anything I could get my hands on in terms of horror, I would rent it and just watch it over and over and over. And Jaws franchise was one of them. So I've seen all these films so many times. I have such a good time with all of them on varying levels. So let's get into this here. Looking at my letterbox per usual. Bottom of the chum bucket. What's it gonna be? Gotta be Cruel Jaws, Jaws 5, 100%. This film is a train wreck. Just kidding, all jokes aside, I do have a good time with this film. Severin did a pretty awesome release of this. I can't even honestly believe they did, because this film is like notoriously, this is the definition of shark exploitation. This is a Jaws exploitation film. I mean, they pretty much like stole footage from Jaws. Several other film, Deep Blood was one of them that they ripped footage from. They even took some of the music. You know, they use like Star Wars music, and it's pretty wild. They have like a Hulk Hogan look-alike who's like one of the main characters of the film. So it's wild, and it has to be seen to be believed. But I had to put that in there, had to throw it in there just to kind of briefly talk about it. Severin actually, originally when they did their first run of the Cruel Jaws release, they had like a Jaws 5 like slipcover, which was super cool. But they had to pull it because of rights and stuff like that. So only really, a fraction of what they intended on releasing got out before they had to pull it. I still am happy that I own it, because it's a pretty wild film, and a pretty wild film to be able to own, because it violates so many like copyrights. Pretty crazy. So bottom of the chum bucket, what's it actually going to be? What's the bottom of the barrel? Number 4, Jaws 3. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say I hate this film. It's just the least enjoyable for me. And the thing is I understand like why, fans of this franchise get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And for me, it doesn't quite work, and I'll get to why. But like I said, I understand enjoying the cheesy, over the top, fun nature of it, B-movie nature of it. And I do enjoy aspects of that. One of the main things that pulls this film down for me, and it almost feels unfair to say, because it's like, no matter what, this was going to be a knock against it, and it's essentially the terrible quality of the film, and it's mainly because of the 3D element, that no matter what you do, it's always going to have issues. But I don't know what it is about this film, but there's moments that it looks good, There's a few shots that are really good, but a lot of the times it just looks fuzzy and hazy, and it just does not look good. And like I said, I get, you know, that's from the 3D element, so it's like it is what it is. But I mean, I've seen other films from this time that were also in 3D that look significantly better. So it's got to be something to be said, you know. And yeah, it just doesn't look good for most of the film. There's moments it looks good, but overall it just doesn't look very good. That aside, I think the acting is fine. I don't think there's really anything that really stands out as egregiously bad. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great, but I wouldn't also say it like is distractingly bad. I also, I like that they follow the Brodies with this film, mainly because it's really our only link to the franchise, essentially. Dennis Quaid, I think he's fine. Like I said, the acting in this film is fine. It's not terrible. What really, really pulls this film down, and the reason why it's at the bottom of the barrel for me, is because the kills are just not that great, and the actual kills don't really feel like they pay off. The effects are obviously bad, but I'm fine with like cheesy, bad, fun effects. I enjoy that, right? I just never feel like they pay off. The shark varies, because it's like sometimes it looks good, other times it looks bad. Sometimes the actual shark looks good, but it's not shot very well, and therefore it's clunky and it looks bad. And then you obviously have like the superimposed image of it coming to the, through the glass, which is ridiculous, right? But the shark, it just doesn't ever look that great for me in this film. And I get that, like, you could say that about most of the franchise. Honestly, I really enjoy the shark in 1 and 2. I think it looks pretty damn good. But 3, yeah, like I said, it's just the effects are goofy, and you pull the 3D element out of it. I feel like that's what really saves this film. And when you don't watch it in 3D, it just doesn't work for me personally. I can still have fun with it. I don't outright hate it, but it's bottom of the barrel for me. And honestly, I don't see that really changing anytime soon. So that's where Jaws 3 currently lies. Number three, Jaws: The Revenge. I honestly have a good time with this film. I know that it's absolutely insane, and there's plot elements that make zero sense, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. But the reason it has the leg up from Jaws 3 is because it feels more in line with the first two than 3 does, and I appreciate that, because they go back to Amity. They have reoccurring characters. They have the Kittner woman, who I just recently noticed was in it, and I think that's awesome. That's an interesting arc, because she went from slapping Brody to kind of making amends with the family. You get a couple reoccurring characters there, obviously Ellen, but you get some other characters that were part of the town, and then it's during Christmas. I think that's interesting, and like I said, I kind of wish more of the film was shot in Amity, but I really do enjoy that first act of the film that was shot in Amity. And then we get Sean and Michael, they're back. So Sean, obviously is killed in this opening scene, and this is a bloody, like violent scene. The problem is just that there's way too many cuts, but it is a pretty vicious scene. You know, you can poke holes in it. You can say the acting's a little clunky in moments, but I doesn't really bother me personally. But yeah, there's too many cuts. But the one thing I do like about the fact that there are so many cuts is that they don't show the shark like too much in this scene specifically. You know, we'll kind of get to further into the film, but you know, I think that it does set a tone that this is going to be more serious. It's more of a link back to the first two, and they pretty much like skip right over 3. They don't reference 3 at all. And I think they could have. I think it was kind of a mistake because I really would have liked to see that continuity with it. You know, Lorraine Gary comes back as Ellen. You get Lance Guest as Michael, and then you get Michael Caine in this as his name's Hoagie, right? Acting is overall, I think it's pretty solid. I don't think it's that bad. You know, I mean, what really pulls this film down, I mean, and we're going to get to it, but it's really, you know, the fact that the shark and Ellen have this like psychic link, which is like absolutely insane. You know, the fact that this shark does take it personal, which goes against the canon that they set up in 2, where sharks don't take things personally, right? This shark does take it personal, follows them from Amity all the way to the Bahamas, which would never happen, right? That's ridiculous, you know, and just some of the overall execution of the shark attack scenes are just wonky. The way the shark is shot it's too they reveal too much too early on, to where it's like, just because we've seen it in 1 and 2 doesn't mean we shouldn't still conceal it throughout the film, because, you know, if you just show it right then and there, it kind of pulls out the suspense a little bit. You know, it still does. So I think that could have benefited it. You know, like I said, it's mainly the, you know, leaps that you have to mentally take to make sense of the plot here. And but overall, I still have a good time with this one. It's fun, it's over the top, it's ridiculous, but I still feel like it feels in line with the first 2 in terms of the tone and overall aesthetic. And like I said, I know they go to the Bahamas, and that's much different than Amity, but you know, that initial first act taking place in Amity, really appreciate that. The climax, depending on what cut you watch, is absolutely insane and ridiculous. They basically like pierce this shark, which is essentially standing on its like dorsal fin, and they pierce through it and it just explodes. You know, it's like, oh, okay. So that's pretty wild. You know, but I mean, this is the 4th like Jaws film in the franchise. What were we really expecting? You know, from a film where a shark takes things personally and follows a family to the Bahamas. So I have a good time with it. Call me crazy, I like it more than 3. I mean, you know, but I understand having it at the bottom, because it's bad, but I enjoy elements of it. But like I said, I get liking 3 more because it really commits to the fun cheesiness of it, and 4 is trying to be more serious, and I could understand being irritated with it trying to be serious but doing goofy things. I get that, but for me, my personal taste, I enjoy 4 more than 3, so that is why 4 is at 3. Now, number 2, Jaws 2. This is a solid sequel. This really does remind me a lot of Halloween 2, where it's like it takes place in the same town. You get a lot of the same cast back. Roy Scheider, obviously. You get a lot of the cast back. I mean, you get the mayor, you get Lorraine, obviously, and then a lot of the people that were worked in the town and stuff come back, and they shoot it in Martha's Vineyard again, which is great. It's a lot of good continuity there. Really love the opening shot where you see the orca. That's awesome. You get the music. It's really the only time you get that theme, which I absolutely love from the original. They were going to have Hooper back, but Dreyfuss wasn't able to do it due to scheduling conflicts, so they were able to write it off within the plot, and it actually works. With Roy Scheider's performance here, I think he does a good job. I know that he was famously frustrated with the director, and based on some of the decisions he makes in the film, I could understand that, because the writing isn't quite on the level of the first film, where it's very he's just so frustrated. You can feel the frustration and just irritation throughout the film, and it's like he's traumatized from the events of the initial film, obviously, but he's so erratic, and he just makes such wild, crazy decisions where he's just he's watching from the shark tower, and then he goes down, he thinks he sees a shark, and he just, gun in hand, basically runs across the beach, shoots into open water with cyanide laced bullets, and it's like, wow. I mean, that's just, you can't go that far. And like, I get his frustration because this happened before, and the town didn't want to get behind him, really just the mayor, I guess, but like, he won Man of the Year, right? But like, they are still, they don't want to believe him. They're kind of against him. And the whole film, it's like he's just trying to prove that this is happening, and it really helps you get behind him, but he's out of control. I mean, he's like drinking and driving, and he's got beer cans all over the place, and he's just making like wild, erratic decisions. It's just like, it's interesting, but I wish that he was more the Martin from the original, right? But I get he's in a different place mentally. You get the barrel where he's basically using it as a planner. I think that's great. A lot of the shark scenes are really good. I like the initial one where the shark attacks that skier in the boat, and this lady's like fighting against this shark, and a lot of people nitpick where she picks up the gasoline and it falls all over her. It's like, it looks like she's just dumping it on herself, but I think she was meaning to dump it onto the shark or smash the shark with it. It's like, what else? You're just grabbing what you can get because the shark is attacking. You're not thinking clearly. She shoots this thing with a flare gun, and she puts up a good fight, but there are some really good action scenes, really good set pieces where they see the killer whale, washed ashore on the beach. I think that looks good. Like I said, I like the way the shark looks. The climax is a lot more realistic compared to the first one, but it's not quite as captivating. It's still pretty cool, but it's not quite on the level of the first film. So this is a solid sequel. I always have a good time with it. I always am left wanting a little more, and I feel like it's missing a couple things to really get it to the level of the first film, which is honestly lightning in a bottle, and I don't know if that could ever really be captured again. The fact that they followed up with a solid sequel to one of the greatest films ever made is still an accomplishment. So I really do enjoy Jaws 2. It's definitely a fun watch for me. Now, number one, definitively going to be Jaws, 100%. This is one of my favorite films ever. It's one of the few films I consider perfect. And like, when I say I consider this a perfect film, does that mean that it doesn't have flaws? No, but it's perfect for me. And the flaws that are in it do not take me out of the experience for a second. And there are some glaring flaws, so that is a major accomplishment. I mean, obviously the tank and the shark's mouth, it wouldn't be able to stay in his mouth, and it would not blow up. Also, shooting that would not blow the shark up. But I don't care about that. I don't care. I'm so invested in the film that I'm able to suspend my disbelief, because it's such an amazing payoff that it's like, it never bothers me. Even when I think about the logic errors there, it doesn't bother me. The shark not looking 100% real all the time still doesn't bother me. I don't know, it's just something about a practical, tangible shark that, even though sometimes it doesn't look 100%, because it's a practical effect, I still am more invested than if it was just CGI, you know? And that's just my personal preference, my personal taste. I go more for the practical effects. I like CGI if it's done right. But, you know, obviously this was way before CGI, but I really, I'm able to look at these few errors, and they do not for a second pull me out of the film. It's a horror film, but it's an action, it's an adventure film. It's so much more than just horror. And the performances you get from Quint, from Roy Scheider, from Dreyfuss, I mean, the whole cast, it's just lightning in a bottle. The fact that they were able to craft such a compelling, incredible film around a killer shark is honestly incredible. And the fact that they were able to do it in 1975 is just wild. You get the famous Quint, USS Indianapolis scene. Love everything Robert Shaw does in this film. I mean, he is just on point from start to finish. Absolutely love this film. Not a whole lot I can really say about it that hasn't been said. This is in my top 10 films ever. I mean, this like I said, it's one of the few perfect films out there. And that is why it is definitively number one. Love this franchise, have such a good time revisiting it. I have a hard time believing that we'll ever really get like any more Jaws films. Anything's possible. They could go the legacy sequel route, but it's like, who's really left in the franchise? You could go back to Martha's Vineyard though, and you could craft something, I feel. But I don't know. I mean, I think it would be kind of tough to really, they did it with Twisters, and that was, people had fun with it, right? So anything's possible. But I would love to see more Jaws films. I love this franchise. And the fact that it has, within the franchise, one of the best films ever made, definitely a plus. So let me know what you guys think. What are your rankings? What is your favorite? What is your least favorite? Let me know in the comments. Till then, that's it for now. Peace.